This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Kriese, Mino, and Mark, bringing you all your Defo news and talk. Welcome to Season 3, the Chaos Era. Now let's start the show.
Welcome everyone to episode 98 of the Crystal Chronicles. I'm glad you could join us, whether you're watching live on Twitch tonight or on video on demand, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app. We're happy you are joining us with part of your COVID-19 time, wherever you are. Hopefully you are all safe. Hopefully you are all healthy. Hopefully you are all finding your way through this, and we can do that together. So let's enjoy our time away from that for just a minute as we dive into the world of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia and this little podcast called The Crystal Chronicles. I am your host, Mark, and I am joined by not one, but two, but three co-hosts. First, you know him and love him. His name is Mino Spellgood. Mino, how you doing?
Quarantine is killing me. I don't know how much longer I can stay cooped up. It's only been a month, and I'm just going fucking nuts. So I just wanted to say, I've been a little touchier lately, a little grumpier. So if I was harsh to you online, if during any of our exchanges or anything, you probably deserved it.
Hey, it's, we're all under a large, I've been telling this and talking about this on my YouTube channel a lot as I'm doing daily videos for my congregation and folks. We are all under an immense amount of stress. Now, some of us are under additional stress if we have to work, if you're in the medical field, if you are out in the world, if you are sick, or if you've lost your job. I mean, there's additional stresses. Some of us are homeschooling our kids. Some of us are extroverts or even introverts who are just wanting to be out and see people and be with people. Many people get together for Easter, and we're not able to do that with family and friends. So yes, we're all under immense amount of stress. And when people are under stress, sometimes they get agitated, angry, frustrated, irritable. Maybe you've experienced that with people in your life, but it happens to all of us. And so let us give each other grace and let us give each other a little bit more patience, understanding that we are all, regardless of our situation, under quite a bit of stress in these trying times. But if we can show each other a little bit of patience and grace, we can get through it together. Well, speaking of patience and grace, we are also joined by our good friend Kriese. Kriese, how are you doing?
I am taking the imposed isolation a lot better than Mino, it seems. I'm doing okay.
Awesome.
I hate it. I hate it. Are you introverted by nature, Kriese? Because I'm very
I'm
extroverted,
highly introverted.
and I'm dying. Because even I think I was talking to Tell of Tonberry Troupe. He's like, why don't you just go to a friend's house or invite a friend over? Because that's what he's doing. And I tried. None of my friends want to break quarantine. I'm just stuck alone in my fucking room. I don't want to do anything. It's the worst feeling.
Yes, I have a whole house full of extroverts who are not used to staying at the house for more than just a few hours or at maybe even a day at most. So, it's a little overwhelming, but imagine it's difficult for all of us. Oh, we are also, I don't know whether she is an extrovert or an introvert or where she falls on that ever-flowing scale, but we are also joined by Aarolei. So, Aaro, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well, and I am also an introvert, but I am lucky in the sense that I do have somebody who lives here with me, my husband, of course, and we are doing well on respecting each other's space and all that. And I've been managing to keep busy while I don't have work to do because I work with kids, and that's kind of like not happening right now. So I've been cleaning up my house a good bit and reorganizing a lot of things and making this place a lot more livable than it was when I first started living here last year.
Well, if you are ever bored, you feel free to give me a call and we can Zoom and you can teach my kids because we are homeschooling right now and they may not all make it through quarantine. So let's just say that.
Well, I work as an
I
after-school
know.
counselor, so it's like, I'm more of like I'm an activities
Yeah,
person,
it
and you
can't
kind of
it can't
do
be
that
any
right now with
can't be any
COVID.
worse than me, Aero, believe me. We are not all cut out to be teachers, and I was raised by a teacher, and I have a massive respect for our teachers, and I think all of us parents, I hope we all did beforehand, but certainly all of those teachers and all of those people like Aero who work with kids on a regular basis and professionally, they deserve a lot of our respect because it's not an easy job. Hey, shout out to our friend Australian Derek. He's with us on Twitch, and good to see him. One of our co-hosts from the FFRK days, or season 1. That would be pre-episode. We reset the episodes at season 2, so that would be pre. I don't have my outline open. I'm just doing great tonight. That would be pre-Defo days. It's good to see Derek here. And one of the reasons Derek is here is because we did a special Road to 100 episode. It is on YouTube, and that is a special interview. It's about 45 minutes with Pierre, and I think I shared it on the podcast as well. So I'm sorry if Twitch is your primary thing. It's not on Twitch. The stream wasn't working out well for me, so I couldn't stream it, but it is on YouTube and it is on podcast, and that is an interview with Pierre. Pierre is the creator and founder of the Crystal Chronicles. He created the podcast back when we were playing FFRK, and then not long after he started with his co-host Ben, I jumped on, and then Pierre and I finished out that 60 episodes of FFRK, and then we started the Defo version of the Crystal Chronicles, which has had 98 episodes together. So it was good to talk to Pierre and catch up with him, and he actually gave me a nice little tour of where he's working. He works for a software company, a game company, and the offices are pretty cool. So it was neat to see everything there. But yeah, check that out and do that. Special thanks to Syrus, who boosted our Discord through Nitro, boosted our Discord to level 3, and also I believe Star Shadow and JR Dallas have helped boost our Nitro. So thank you for all those who have boosted our Nitro. Or used Nitro to boost our Discord. So hopefully that will help. So feel free to join our Discord. Had a whole bunch of folks sub. If I can't scroll down here. Here we go. Before we were on, I don't know why I can't get my scrolling here to work. That would include... There we go. That would include Anthony and Eamon and Eridin and Strafe and God of Cloud 9. And we had bits from Hate 13, Arrow, Eamon, Ragnamune, Kriese. Thank you all for that. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your follows. Do subscribe and follow us on YouTube as well. If you do listen to us on the podcast and you are especially an Apple podcast user, give us a rating, hopefully a good one, and a little review there. That does help us a lot. So we will be doing some special things for episode 100, including several giveaways. A couple members who will shout out on episode 100 did actually give us, Minion and Anthony gave us some additional gifts to give to you. And then because of that and some of the sub money that we've accumulated over the last few months, we're going to be giving a lot of gifts away. Not just live, we're going to give a couple away live, but we're also going to give away to our podcast audience, to the YouTube audience, to anyone who can watch or listen to the show. And so we'll talk about how to do that next week and then the week after. But definitely episode 100, if you're live with us, we will have a couple giveaways. And most likely they'll be like ingot packs, about here in the U.S. $20 gift cards or gifts to the show. So that's what we'll be giving away, unless somebody has some really great idea of other things that I could buy and give away. That's kind of what we're going to plan on. So let's get to the show. News today, we did get a new Chocobo panel, the late April Chocobo panels. And you can go to the Tonberry Troupe's new website, tonberrytroupe.com, and I believe Macnol's Chocobo guide is there on that website. So correct me if I'm wrong. But Macnol puts together a little guide for each of the Chocobo board panel missions. Super helpful. So you can check that out. I believe that's on the Tonberry Troupe website.
I don't think it's actually on the Tonberry Troupe website. It's actually on the Dissidia info website that Macnol put together.
Oh, okay. So we need a link to that. So I need to make sure that I shouting out Macnol appropriately. Yes, our Spring Festival EX tokens. So are they are gone. We cannot the store.
The tokens are still there for about 6 more hours. So you have 6 hours if you've not spent your Spring Festival tokens to spend them before they go away.
Yes, so we did get a limited time EX weapon and EX weapon shop. So hosts, what did our... I'm not going to do that. I'm going to name people. We're going to work on that, aren't we, tonight, guys? I used mine on Dark Knight Cecil. It was really between Dark Knight Cecil or Lightning. I am planning on pulling on the Lightning banner because Dark Knight Cecil got his rework. I thought that was a really good use of my EX tokens, so I did that, and I purpled Decil, Dark Knight Cecil, and have been using him, and he's fun and viable, so I enjoyed using him. Kriese, have you used your tokens, and who did you use them on?
I used them on exactly who I said I would, Vincent. So I have realized his EX now. It's just a 0 out of 3 EX plus, but it's sitting nice in my inventory now. Who did you pick?
I did Decil. I didn't really have any better options. I guess the other ones were Lael and Yuna. I wasn't really interested in either. So, Aarolei?
I did not have very many options. I had Paladin Cecil, Lael, and Vincent, I believe, and Ace. And I chose, like Kriese, Vincent, actually, because I kind of like him, and I may build him, but I don't know right now. Probably not, because ingots, whatever.
My Vincent is still at 0 out of 3, and I use him right there, and he seems to do fine. Of course, it'd be nice to have all of my characters 3 out of 3. But such is the way of the ingot shortage. So that is live. Well, awesome. Yeah, so if you're listening live and haven't used your tokens, you got 6 hours, so use them. If you're listening later, you might be out of luck. So hopefully you were able to use them effectively, and you got some additional characters for your roster. What did I miss there? Yes, so DecidiaInfo.com. That would be where Macnol's thing is. And the TonberryTroupe.com is the Tonberry Troops, where all their infographics are as well. We did not go over the call to arms for the Burrow of the Phoenix, did we? Or did we not?
I don't recall going over it. There weren't a lot of videos posted by the time we did the recording last week, so I wanted to at least bring it up and mention that Macnol did a really nice thing with this. He made separate tabs for the specific crystal requirement variants of the Chaos fight, so you can switch tabs to see who did it using those requirements. If you're having trouble picking out a team that might work, it's pretty...
Yeah, well, we can shout out a couple.
Did not, however, have a TCC challenge for this event.
Yeah, so there was no TCC challenge for this event, but I can shout out here the Burrow of the Phoenix Chaos budget teams. So Macnol always kind of puts together those teams that showcase the least amount of ingot investment, which I always like. Belial did Vayne 3 out of 3, Charlotta Lena. Vayne Novus, our friend from the Tonberry Troupe, did Vayne 3 out of 3 solo run, and we talked about that last week. Belial also did a Realm Penelo Leo, only 3 ingots. And Preman, who has been on the scene here this last few weeks, did Vayne 0 out of 3, Penelo 0 out of 3, Charlotta no ingot investment run. So congratulations to all of you. Good job. No, we did not do a TCC challenge because this is... you had to do it 4 different times, and so that was, I think, enough for everybody to not to need to do it again. So another thing we didn't get to last week is Dimensions End Entropy Tier 9 that launched slightly before we had a chance to record last week. So we do have our 9th tier of entropy. Mino, did you approach that, and how did you approach that, or did you want to walk through what that battle entailed?
Let me see if I can remember. I remember there weren't any like super unique mechanics, just all mechanics that punished you for not being defensive or not being fast enough to clear. So, Kriese, help me out. First wave was
The horses.
2 Death Riders and
a Berserker armor.
Yep.
Got it, yeah. So Berserker armor hides its turns and does random things. And then the horses, I believe, are pretty standard. They either do the AoE Brave hits or the Brave plus HP. Basically, like always, take out the Berserker armor as fast as you can, or the randomness can end up killing.
The Berserker armor does not hide its turns, but it does go Berserk, which means you have trouble figuring out who it's targeting, is what I recall its mechanic being.
It does the question mark over its turn, so you don't really know what it's doing.
Yeah, he berserks. He doesn't hide his terms. That's like the shadow armor, the phantom mail.
Yeah. He hides the target.
Yeah, the target
of his turn.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. The second wave is
the problem is it was a phantom mail in the last wave.
Yeah.
That's
right. I fucked it. Okay, the second wave, there's the ice gigas from way back when, which I think they immediately did a killer Brave plus HP if they broke you.
Yes.
And the companion is
Iron Worm.
Iron Worm. For those of you trying to follow along, I posted the link to the Tonberry Troupe's resource on Entropy Tier 9 for you guys.
Thank you.
Iron Worm's pretty standard. Just a bunch of AoE gravity
HP
hits.
attacks. Yep.
And, the occasional AoE big Brave hits. I guess he's just there to soften you up for the Ice Gigas. Again, the Ice Gigas needs to be taken out ASAP, because the longer he's up, the more defensive you have to play. Just like the Berserker armor. Basically, you have to play defensively because you don't know who he's going to hit, and if he hits the wrong person and gets the break, he'll go again and probably get the kill. So that's the pattern here. And then the third and final wave, right? There were only 3?
Yes.
There were only 3 waves.
Is the Phantom Mail
and
the Stone Golem, right?
That is correct.
Plant Golem.
Golem.
Yeah.
But yeah, Golem.
The Plant Golem's big thing is a big delays. And the Phantom Mail is actually hides
his turn.
Yeah. So that's another thing that you have to kill fast. Otherwise, again, your whole party is playing defensively. And then with the tightish turn count, the Golem can delay too. But honestly, the way I approach it is each wave, I targeted the person who needed to be burned, the ones either masking their turns or capable of killing once they got a break. Because all 3 of them, really, once they get a break, they can pretty much get a consecutive turn and kill. I think popular setups were definitely bringing a solid tank and definitely bringing some sort of re-break or delay character. Because I know Vayne is a really, really popular one. I think a lot of people used Aranea here. And tank-wise, I'm not sure who people use. I know I saw a few.
Zach, I saw some Zach, I think, on this one.
Zach.
Yeah.
Galuf will probably pop up if people haven't cleared it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Paladin Cecil and
yeah,
Beatrix. Galuf can do this and 5 really well. XRoss 7th is saying that, or asking if we saw the Dark Knight Cecil solo run of Entropy 4. I have not seen that. I would certainly appreciate a link because I would like to see if that's possible. I could free up Entropy 4. I have some characters on that tier I could free up. So yeah, share that. I'd like to see what arts they have. I'll be happy to try that later tonight. So but yeah, we are in the state of the game now where we're going to see some solo run potential and some other folks. So for tier 9, I just went all out. I used Aranea, Vayne, and Beatrix. Why not? I've been holding on to Aranea for a few tiers now. I said, let's just pull the trigger. I did try Pestle, Beatrix, and Vayne, but it just wasn't going to cut it. So,
did you not make the turn count with that?
Exactly, right. Yep.
Okay.
So
because I did something similar. I ran Pestle, Edge, Aranea originally, and then I crushed it. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to waste Aranea here because this didn't seem like that bad of a tier.
Right.
So I replaced her with Vayne, who was still able to come in. So Pestle, Vayne, Edge, similar to your
Edge.
team, but I
Yeah.
guess we traded Beatrix with
Yeah.
Edge, and I'm surprised, I guess, that Beatrix didn't make the turn count there. And so before last week, I talked about how underwhelmed I was with Vayne, but this week I'll talk about how pairing him with Leo is just so much fun. So I might redo that tier a third time just to free Vayne so I can run him with Leo somewhere.
Right.
Arrow, did you get a chance to tackle this?
I have. I haven't posted the video yet. I haven't uploaded, but I used the twins, Yuri, and Huron. So
Nice.
yeah, I almost didn't make turn count when I tried playing around with this. I tried using Beatrix instead of Yuri, but I was running into some serious issues with wave 2, and I just gave up and went, you know what, I'll just use Yuri as my healer for this wave. So I kind of hated it, but it kind of worked out in the end. I got tier 10 sorted out. I was kind of planning to use him originally there, but yeah, things change. So that's just the tower for you. It does that sometimes.
Very true. Yeah, I think the big issue for Paladin, Cecil, and Beatrix is they don't really synergize well together, unfortunately. So, but yeah, Kriese, you are you up to this? What tier are you on right now?
Oh no, I'm still working on tier 6 because I've been busy.
All right, well, make sure you let us know when and if that's where you get. So let us know, and if you're having trouble with any, remember our friends at the Tonberry Troupe did a nice guide to Dimensions End Entropy Tier 9. It is on their website. Our friend Black Cloud or Black Nero, he also did a nice walkthrough before Tier 9 was released on YouTube, so you can check him out. Jump on our Discord, and if you need help with any tiers of Dimensions End Entropy or Dimensions End Pathos, happy to help. We got a lot of great players on our Discord, a lot of very, very talented, very creative players. So you're going to get a lot of different options and a lot of different experiences. So there's a lot of people willing to help if you're really looking for help. So, well, let's move from Dimensions and Entropy to our only content of the week, which is Act 2, Chapter 8, Whither the Wind Returns. This is our new story chapter, which brings us a banner with Galuf's rework, his EX and level 70 in EX realization, and a new character, General Leo. So we will talk about those banners, but let's briefly talk about those characters, starting with Galuf. Kriese, would you walk us through what the man himself gets?
Sure. So, as you all probably remember, Galuf has been a specifically physical tank. His mechanics are that he covers his allies and then he dodges and counterattacks. That's his basic thing. However, his dodge is for physical attacks only. So he doesn't dodge everything. He can't dodge magic, for example, which makes him a very specifically physical defensive tank. A couple things to point out for his rework before we get into the big change, his new EX weapon and EX plus. Basically, it's a lot more turns on all of his buffs he gives his allies. He gives pretty nice buffs all around, and in total, he gives a substantial boost to attack max brave through buffs and auras, about 70% attack and 60% max brave bonus. His buffs now last long enough that he can keep them up without having to refresh very often, which allows him to conserve ability uses. And to help with that, he has a relatively nice EX or an HP plus that he can do, along with a Brave plus. But his big damage comes from him counterattacking, because his counterattacks deal Brave plus HP damage. The big thing he gets, though, is his new EX weapon called Dual Wield Blade Bits. It's on a fast recharge. It's an AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. It also gives a new frame buff for him that gives him generic or boosted evasion, boosted attack, and HP regen, along with a party brave damage reduction buff. So basically, he reduces party brave damage taken which helps a little bit with one of his big issues that if he can't cover the attack because it's an AoE attack, he's not really doing anything for the party. This helps a little bit. If you realize his weapon, he gets increases to dual wield blade blitzes, overflow and potency. He gets generic stat increases. Big things he gets is if you fully realize it, he gets an HP plus attack, which is much stronger and has a party battery associated with it, and is basic HP plus. If you raise him to 2 ingots only, 2 limit breaks only, he starts with his unique buff from his EX, and he gets basically a free ability use and instant second turn. Issues that Galuf has is that he is a slow startup character. Because he's an FF5 character, he has the mastery mechanic, and he doesn't actually start counterattacking until he uses Blade Block Plus, and he can't cover both allies in a single use until he gets the Cover Plus. So you have to use each of those abilities once to get there. Once you build him up, though, he basically goes to town, as long as you're dealing with an enemy that does single target physical attacks, either ranged or melee. If the enemy's doing magic attacks, then Galuf is not doing much for you by comparison to other tanks. But he has some strong party buffs and auras together. He helps make your party stronger. He is very defensive, and he can do a lot of damage against fast enemies that just like to punch things. Mino, do you want to add anything I might have forgotten?
Yeah, I had 2 questions because I didn't really look too much into his kit because I didn't get his EX. But does some level of realization to his EX plus give him a 60% flat chance to dodge? Is that a thing, or did I read that wrong somewhere?
It's in his EX buff, Soul of the Dawn. He gets a 60% chance to dodge while that is up. So if you do not fully realize him, he has to use his EX ability to get it, to get that buff. But if you at least put 2 ingots in, he starts with that buff already active.
So technically, that's a full dodge, right? So technically, he does have a 60% chance to dodge and counter magic attacks as well. It's not as guaranteed as a physical, but
my understanding is that the counter
exist,
only triggers on physical attack evades.
Someone in chat with Galuf, if you guys can clarify. And then the second question I had was, what was it? It was something you just said about. Oh, crap, I gotta listen back. I remember there was another thing I was wondering. Oh, right. You said when he's 2-3 ingots, he gets a free ability use. Is it a free ability use? I thought it was just a no turn count, but it still takes up the ability count.
You are correct. It is not a free ability. It is just instant turn rate, no turn count. So basically, he just gets 2 turns back to back to help set himself up. I misspoke there.
Okay. I think in chat people are saying, the counter only triggers off of a physical dodge. Okay. So good to know. And so, yeah, I wanted to clarify because both of these characters, we had a lot of discussion in the past few days, mostly with Tonberry Troupe members, because I know I had a long talk with Vayne Novice, who purpled Galuf and then regretted it. And then we discussed the kit, and he came around to it. Galuf, I feel like, is just a physical version of Celis. If you like Celis's gimmick, and a lot of people do. We had those Reddit posts about, Celis is underrated, or like a lot of people say that. And if you find a use for the niche, I think they can be a great pick. Me personally, I wouldn't invest my ingots into such a niche pick, but I know it works out for a lot of people. Galuf will trivialize physical fights just like Celis trivializes magic fights. So if you like that style, I think Galuf is a really good pick. I just want to throw in some notes.
Let me just chime in that one advantage Galuf has over Celeste is that he provides a party attack boost and max brave boost. Celeste at the moment only provides a small party max brave boost by comparison. So he's doing a little bit more for his allies, even if he isn't able to do his taking mechanism to full power.
That's fair, but I will counter that I think Celis is more of a active participant, as in like her damage and speed are a little faster, so she can do more on her own, I guess, compared to Galuf, who's more party utility.
Galuf's our auras are pretty significant. I mean, we're talking attack 70, max brave 60. I mean, those are significant auras. for a utility
Some
character.
some of that's generic buffs though, right?
The
Or
max brave is generic. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yep, correct.
Okay. So the notes that I remember coming up with Vayne with that Kriese hasn't mentioned yet is one is that um, Vayne was talking about how the skill uses go out really fast because a lot of people, I guess, instinctively want to get to plus as fast as possible. So they burn 2 uses of both skills ASAP and then burn out before the end of the fight. I don't think he's as spammable as other tanks. A lot of tanks, once you get their taunt up, you can ride that for most of the fight. I think you don't want to spam abilities back to back with Galuf. His ability counts are a little low, but they last long. So I think I was advising him, and we came up with the solution of you're using it as it goes. So blade block, while you might want to get up right away, I suggest starting with block maxed with the free ability and everything. But with cover, I feel like you can take the time to cover one person, and then as that's running out, or the situation calls for it, then hit cover plus to get both. Because you can coast just covering one person. That's 2/3 of your party covered and countered for a couple of turns. And I think you should space cover out because obviously if you're just blowing it back to back to keep the buff up as long as possible, there's going to be downtime where the enemies buff themselves or whatever, where a lot of that's just going to waste. Because I believe total buff count, if you add in all the ability counts, isn't that big, right? How many turns of cover is it per use?
It's 6 from base cover and it's 8 from cover plus.
And it's about, I want to say 7 ability. No, I'm totally off. I didn't. Do you know how many ability uses total?
He has 7 uses of cover, plus he has an AA that recovers 1 use, so he has 8 total uses over an entire fight.
Well, that's not terrible. I do know that some people have complained about it falling off, though. But yeah, I just think his ability uses should be a little more deliberate, a little more careful than most tanks. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't be pushed to have 100% uptime. And the second thing is he's just beautiful with battery. I know Vayne was saying that skill 1 felt bad because it didn't have a brave dump. He just batteries and sits there. But I think the whole point of using cover is you are anticipating a counter to dump that brave immediately after, or at least before his next turn. So it should be used a little smarter. That, and of course, because he's a slow character, if you have constant forms of battery, not regen because he's slow, then he's going to be dumping a lot on his counters. And I think that's also necessary for him to be a good character, is to have strong regular batteries. And I don't think he'll work quite well with regen characters for that purpose, because he's not, he's doing most of his stuff off of his turn. But but that's all the notes I have. Mark, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think I don't have him. I did not pull his weapon. I am familiar with him beforehand, and again, I think he's one of those niche tanks that does what he does really well. Celeste is the same way. Bosch is the same. They each cover their role well, and so if you can play around with that and exploit that, especially in Dimensions End, each of them has a fight or two that they're useful on. They're great additions to your team. Aaro, did you have anything to add about Grandpa?
I pulled on this banner and got his EX, and I'll go into more detail on that later. But I only booked him, and I think he's really strong, but I think he's a great tank, but he's not really my style I tend to go for. So I think my biggest beef with him is that he has like a lot of buffs he gives himself, and he's also, got to give the cover buff to the party, which is both good and bad. But like you guys said before, if you have a character who eats a lot of turns, they're going to lose the cover buff very easily. On the other hand, Galuf is very slow himself. So I don't know, you got to kind of like think about that and balance that in your teams, is making sure that the characters don't lose cover, because that's going to be the main thing. You don't want to lose, whereas other tanks don't tend to have to worry about doing something like that, other than maybe Warrior of Light, but he has way more uses of the Shining Shield ability.
That's a great point, Aaro. And you reminded me of one more point of he's the only tank I think that doesn't rely on the taunt debuff. So that's
Correct.
something to consider for certain fights, I guess.
Now
That is also true, yeah.
Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No. I'm actually looking something up because I wanted to shout out something here. Now, if you're looking for more information on any of these characters, of course, our friends at the Tonberry Troupe, tonberrytroupe.com, now very easy to find. They do. It would be easy if I could just look at this whole thing. Our friends at the Tonberry Troupe do infographics that explain what all of these characters do. Our friend Jin Lee pulled on this banner with our friend Resfoina. They did a pull battle. You can check that out. But he also did a how to play Galuf and Leo. So do feel free to check that out. Jin Lee's an excellent player and does excellent videos on YouTube. Our friend Lids87, fellow streamer and content creator, actually did a solo run of Galuf on, I believe, tier 5, and that's what I'm not seeing which tier it is, exactly which tier he was on. But I did ask him, okay, tell me what the spheres are, tell me what the arts are, because thank you, Knight is Dark Full of Terrors tier 5, Solo saying that as well, so it was tier 5. But solo runs are not always possible without a beefy character. Obviously 3/3, obviously all your board's done. He used Tefreet for his summon. He had for his arts 65 buffed attack, attack 108, HP 1020, Max Brave 330 buffed attack, 2 stars buffed attack. He had Cloud's Sphere on A slot, Galuf's Sphere on B slot, and Beatrix's Sphere on D slot. So 3 spheres. Thank you for putting that link to the video. Lids87, Lids with a Z, LIDZ 87 on YouTube. Night is Dark Full of Terrors. Put that in as well. So feel free to check that out. So it is possible to solo some content with him. But it takes a little bit of RNG, and you do need to fully invest in the character. So, anything else on Grandpa before we talk about the general? Well, Kriese, would you feel free to run us through what General Leo is? What's he all about? New character.
Okay, new character. I'm not going to go through his full kit. Instead, I'm going to talk about the themes of it. Number 1, he is designed to be a single target damage dealer, and he is a very strong single target damage dealer. His whole kit is around doing a lot of damage to a target, making targets take more damage from single target hits, and just destroying things where possible. He does have some party utility he brings along with that, but we'll get to that in a minute. His big gimmick is his debuff Precision Strike, which he gives with his first skill call for Precision Strike. He can only have this applied to a single target at a time, sort of like how Seven can only have her debuff applied to one target at a time. If he tries to place it on something else, it will get removed from those other targets, so be careful with that. This thing causes weakness damage for all single target Brave-based attacks, and I'm going to pull up the Tonberry Troupe overview of what counts and what does not. So it does not work for group Brave attacks. So this means things such as Squall's Renzokuken benefit, Lena's Rapid Fire benefits because they're random hits, not group hits. However, things such as Kuja's Ring Holy and Kate Sif's Toy Soldier do not benefit because they are group alternating hits. And things that are just AoE Brave hits do not count either. So they have to be random hits, which is very rare in this game, or they have to be all single target hits.
Lena's arrow rain's the only pure random thing we have.
Okay, so basically it's Lena and everything that only does single target Brave damage. His second ability is basically just a full-powered blow up the enemy type thing. He does 4 Brave plus HP chains where he batteries the party based on the HP damage dealt, or batteries allies, not batteries the party. Sorry, he doesn't battery himself, and also does a delay. Problem is, this ability has very few uses, so you gotta save it for when it's best to use it. To make up for this, he does have a pretty solid Brave plus and HP plus, which gets stronger, get more Brave hits, and Brave Overflow if he realizes his weapon to become Brave plus plus and HP plus plus. And last, he has an EX ability that's an AoE Brave attack followed by an AoE HP hit. Deal split HP damage. However, you know how most abilities just get a generous bonus to damage dealt if they're targeting a single target. Well, Shock, because it does not benefit from Precision Strike, instead gets a massive single target bonus. So if he's using Shock against a single enemy, it'll do damage to make up for the fact it doesn't benefit from Precision Strike. Along with that, he has a unique buff. He has two unique buffs. One of the unique buffs gives party HP regen. The other gives party max Brave boost. And along with that, he has a passive that raises party max HP and party max Brave by a little bit more. You will likely want to realize his weapon fully because it gives him everything he needs to do damage, and his job is to do damage. Notable things he gains. If you just realize his EX weapon, he gets a free ability use after using Shock, so that really increases his combat longevity, so he can actually spam Master Blade a lot more. If you put 2 ingots into it, he actually applies Precision Strike to a random foe at the start of each wave, which helps a lot. He doesn't need to use his first skill to activate that necessarily. And he can also get Shock Plus if he fully realizes the weapon, and there's only a single target, where it basically just becomes a crazy strong attack. Last thing to mention is he does have an additional ability that allows him to apply Precision Strike without relying on his skill 1. So if he needs to save damaging skills, he can rely on that. And finally, he does battery the party with his first skill based on his attack stats. So basically, he batteries the party with skill 1 and skill 2 use. He has HP regen, small max Brave boost, small HP boost, and increases his allies' single target damage dealt. I did not get his EX weapon, so I can't really talk about him in practical use, but my understanding is that if you need someone to deal damage to a single target, no one matches him in that department. He blows Aranea out of the water, as long as you're talking about a single target enemy. Mino, can you clarify that? I think you did get his weapon, right?
Yeah. Sorry to hear you didn't. I know you were going pretty hard for it. I didn't know how it ended up.
My real goal was Galuf's EX, and I did get that, but I dropped about 400 tickets in the banner, and yeah, I got 1 copy of his 35 CP, and I didn't get a single copy of his 15 CP until about 120 tickets in.
Oof, jeez, rough luck.
It happens.
I'll tackle the inevitable Aranea comparison briefly here. I know it's one of our questions, so if we want to go more in depth near the end of the show, we will. But I feel like Leo feels a lot like Aranea. Different focus, but playing Aranea for months and then now getting Leo, I can really see the comparisons. You're putting on the debuff that increases party damage dealt to the target, and then you've got the 2-turn delay, and so it's the debuff focus of increasing party damage and the big personal damage and the delay, and it feels really good. Except of course Leo stands out from Aranea. Like, I like having them both on the roster now because, as Kriese said, one has a single target focus and the other arguably an AoE focus. As you know, you get the most out of Aranea against multiple targets with her HP plus and her skill 2. Whereas, of course, with Leo, everything's single target. Even his EX is single target. Well, AoE Brave Shave, but single target Brave Dump. So they feel very similar. They feel like cousins in kit-wise, but different enough that I like the difference between Galuf and Celis, I guess, as we were talking about. Like, very comparable, very different purposes, and I do like that. The inevitable comparison, though, is a lot of people are arguing over who's a better friend unit, who's better in the party in a general environment. Just like point blank. Just blank canvas, who's better. And this is just personal opinion. There's a lot of debate on this in our Discord, and I'm sure Mark might say something different after this. But my personal opinion is, in a universal sense, I feel like Aranea is still easier to bring around. In terms of friends, we had the argument on Discord, and we can dive into that deeper later. But basically, we're talking about if you're farming summon boards, we did agree that Leo comes out on top because you summon him in, he automatically applies his debuff, and then he can do 5 turns of his skill 2, which is big damage and a 2-turn delay. Whereas with Aranea, you have to skill 2 first to apply her debuff, and then do 4 turns of her big damage damage dump period. And then so that's just for summon boards. For most fights, Aranea does have the AoE capability. If we're comparing debuffs, Leo multiplies single target damage by ×2, which is very beefy. Aranea does the same thing, except it's not limited to just single target attacks. Every attack does not only 2 times damage, but guaranteed crit, which is an extra 1.25, and then you do the ×2. So honestly, it is more damage. It also fulfills crit conditions, which a lot of characters and kits and abilities thrive off of. If you crit, do this and this, right? Like there's isn't Vanilla Sphere like crit removes buffs or dispels or something like that?
Dispels it on a break, right?
Yeah. Oh, on a
it's
break?
Yeah, it's
okay.
for Vayne. Yeah, more for Vayne, not a crit.
Oh, okay.
It's a break, I believe.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's
well,
a good
I know
sphere on
things
Vayne and Aranea.
like Cloud's. I know Cloud's like his World of Illusion weapon is based off of crits, or he gets extra crit damage. Vayne gets extra crit damage, etc., etc.
Right.
So I do feel like Aranea's debuff is far superior. And then again, easier to bring into any fight because she excels in AoE as well. I don't feel like she loses out too much in single target as a friend. We're talking friend unit only. Now, in a party setting, General Leo has much more longevity than Aranea. He gets free skill uses on every EX cast, and it feels good. Aranea does have the 7 ability count for her delay, but Leo can potentially have more, and he's not reliant on a buff to pump out his damage because Aranea wants overclock for the plus versions of her skills. Leo doesn't need that kind of setup. He just needs the debuff, and again, the debuff is applied for free at the beginning of every wave. So he does feel good. I do see myself bringing him to fights that I wouldn't bring Aranea, but people are arguing things like utility. I think utility is hard to argue. Aranea's debuff is better. She does the same delays. Her delay skill 1 is a pretty damn fast animation, and 6 hits and 180% overflow is pretty significant. I'm not sure if it always beats out Leo's skill 2, but it is damn comparable. And so I don't think Leo wins utility-wise or power-wise, even on single targets as a main party member, but I do think he has longevity, and that matters a lot. Yeah. Oh, and the other argument I'm seeing in chat is once you get overclock on Aranea, she can delay any target she likes, and she has rebreaks for extra delays. Leo needs his debuff on the target to push back that 2 turns, and it can only be on 1 target at a time. I did mess around with a couple of chaoses with him. He does it feels like he gets hit when you're doing 2-3 boss waves, or 2-3 waves with 2 or 3 enemies. You
waves
can definitely
with multiple
see
enemies,
his
yes.
damage go. Yeah, you can definitely see his damage go down. But again, I think used in the right situations, very strong character. Definitely can have both Aranea and Leo, but I do not think he dethrones Aranea. Comes close, not her peer though. That crit buff is just insane, guys. Like that's a 2.5 times damage multiplier for everybody, and a 3 times damage modifier for herself. Mark, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think you can have an opinion that you like Leo more than Aranea, but I think Aranea is overall better than Leo. You can make the argument that in single boss fights, of which we don't have many, there even this chaos is infamous element. Thank you for the raid. Appreciate that. Even this boss fight has a tier with 2 characters and the enemies, and then a tier with 1 with the demon wall. So there's there's a lot of fights that are going to have multiple bosses, and that's always how it goes. I think the one thing that you said is Leo has a little bit more longevity, but Aranea's HP attack is so damn powerful that, I mean, and Leo's HP attack is nothing to joke about either, but hers is just so broken. And I mean, I think Leo is a super, I think this is how I would characterize him, because I've been thinking about this for a while. I think Aranea is a damage dealer with incredible utility, and I think Leo is an incredible is a utility character with incredible damage when it comes to single target.
I think that's a good way.
And I think that's kind of the difference between them. And so at the end of the day, the massive damage, especially when you're talking about multiple bosses, is always going to go to Aranea. She's just ahead of her time. She's from the future in a whole different way than we've had before. Coming from an LD era back to an EX era is just different. And so, that being said, yes, in the single enemy summon boards, Leo is a great friend unit because he immediately comes on with his debuff. He can spam skill 2, end of story, don't have to do anything. His animations are quick, they're seamless, not a problem. The only summon board where that's going to be a problem is Shiva. Aranea still is the king of Shiva. You're still going to prefer her over Leo, I would say, because his debuff is random, so you don't get a choice of what it does, and that's not a big deal. But it's just going to take more time. She just tears through Shiva by herself, really. So that's just the reality there. But overall, as a friend, I still think Aranea is probably a stronger friend unit. When you're playing in Chaos and anything else, quicker animations really don't matter. I'm not speed running Chaos fights, right? So
one
generally,
advantage for Leo as a friend unit I will point out is his precision strike debuff lasts longer than Aranea's debuff, which means it will stick around longer after he leaves. After his friend unit time ends. Aranea's debuff, if you don't have her in the main party, falls off really fast when she's gone.
Yeah.
And
fair.
2, Leo provides party battery with every attack he's doing to allies, which means his allies are doing more damage, even if they can't hit hard on their own.
Right.
So he does have 2 benefits as a friend unit over Aranea. Not to say Aranea is bad, she still does a good job, but Leo is competitive.
There's a third one I wanted to list too. I was waiting for Mark to finish, but Black Cloud, he gave me those good points too. He mentioned the battery thing as well, just in case battery is ever more useful to your party than straight brave damage done. And the second thing he said is Leo has the 20% heal.
Yeah.
So if you ever need clutch heals to meet an HP requirement, he's a great friend to bring in to battery and heal really quick and then bounce out. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think that's why he's really more of a third party. I generally put my my team comps into 3 sections. I have my damage dealer, my support, my kind of third slot utility character. So he's definitely, I think, in that utility character, offering the healing, offering the battery, where a lot of DPSs aren't doing that. A lot of damage per turn damage dealers aren't doing that. Aranea is definitely a selfish damage dealer that has a buff that helps the entire party and does the turn delay mechanics and everything else, the rebreaks. But Leo is providing the turn delay. He's providing the healing. He's providing the batteries. He's providing the damage to single target foes from single target attacks. So he is a great utility character. As CSAM is saying, Beatrix, Pestle, and Leo, they don't synergize super well together. I have played that team in Chaos. It's fun. And you can, with Leo, you can stack 3 different I would consider all 3 of those utility characters, and so you can stack 3 utility characters with Leo. The other nice thing with a character like Leo is you can run supports like Lilisette, supports like Sarah, supports that may not heal necessarily, and you're still covering. He still has enough aura, enough support, enough party utility that you can get away with a less healing support and still come out fine. So as we're just talking about, Aranea versus Leo and friends and all that, Aero, did you have anything to add to that conversation? Do you have Leo? Did you pulled on this banner, right?
I did. I got it too. I love that.
Aero, this makes him the second villain you pulled for then, right?
Okay, I did.
You said no
I
villain?
only booked him A and B. I was given I don't think he's really a villain in the sense that you're thinking. But anyway, no. I want to get into this because I think it's really important. I still like using Quistis as a friend unit. I know over Aranea, but I feel like this is very important to point out. And the battery really is sometimes a game changer in certain fights because there's fights you just cannot afford to get broken in, or that brave battery actually equates to more damage. And I feel like because it's easier to just spam skill 2 with Leo and also have that debuff, I just feel like that it just really depends on the team and the fight. And I don't want to say one's better than the other. Like, I can't really pick one is better than the other. And I have a feeling I will be using Leo friends quite a lot until Quistis comes back with you.
So just to get off topic here, as we're talking about, Arrow, if you're not familiar with her work, she's not a big fan of the villains. Now, I would consider in this game the villains are anybody that Spiritus summons. But we were talking about Beatrix.
We're talking about the story now?
Yeah, no, we're not talking about the story yet.
We're
not talking about the story yet, but we'll get to it. But just before we do, who summoned Beatrix? Which god summoned Beatrix?
They made it ambiguous. They didn't say.
Yeah,
I will mention that Cain is not considered a villain, and he was summoned by Spiritus.
He was summoned by Spiritus.
Well,
right. Jet was summoned by Spiritus.
To be fair, what I was saying to Arrow last night was that anyone Materia summons is squeaky clean.
Right.
But at least the people that Spiritus summons, like Cain and Jekt, they at least have like spots in their history. So you can't say Leo is completely like squeaky clean.
If you want to get there, that's not my second villain. Technically, we talked about this during Leon, but I feel like the villains, when I talk about it, I'm talking like the final game villains generally, or like big villains that were dealt with during the game. So, for example, like Gilgamesh to me would be closer to the villain role than, say, like Leon, because Leon actually joins your party and tries to fight the final evil in the game. Granted, he has a change of heart kind of thing.
Yeah, granted, he took over the empire and did all those evil things. But hey, Wild2257, thanks for the follow.
If we're talking about this subject, I want to address the chat really quick. So there's a lot of they mentioned this in the story, but it's not the main story point. So I feel comfortable talking about this. A lot of people in chat are arguing about the Doma siege. Okay, they say in the story, like Leo admits it was a long siege and he was responsible for like 90% of it. Everyone's saying, well, Kefka killed all the Domans. No, guys, Kefka was impatient that the siege was taking so long. So when Leo left, he finished the job. But the point is, supposedly Doma was under siege for months. When you first see it, lots of dead Asians, lots of the castles falling apart. They even say in the story, Cyan's like, Leo is a hated enemy of mine. My people fought him for a long time. And Leo even said like it was a long campaign around the world for the Empire to take over places. He led a lot of that. He was the head of the Imperial Army. He also says that, it's he believed that the road to world peace was to conquer the entire world. I wouldn't say those are benevolent beliefs. I'm pretty sure that's what Hitler thought. And he also said that when they remarked how come he's the only general who doesn't use any magic, and he said, I think in the story, because I want to choke the life out of my opponents with my bare hands. So
I don't think he put it that way.
That wasn't the exact. Well, I mean, in the Japanese translation, that's what it said. So back to some Leo conversation. I won't give Arrow a hard time about Machina because I was going to bring that up, but we'll talk about that some other time. Some other things about Leo. He obviously doesn't synergize well with everybody. He does synergize wonderfully with characters like Vayne. Vayne and him are just a match made. I mean, they are just so good. I've enjoyed using Pestle with him and some other characters, obviously Tifa and Sephiroth, although you kind of need a traditional support with that. There was some conversation earlier in our chat about best arts for him. Obviously, he is a damage dealing character, even though I would kind of consider him a utility character with great damage, so attack 103 across the board. But there was some conversation about, his C50 passive is really good, but he also really relies for damage on his skill 2, and so is the mighty version of that. And Robosoken, who's one of our Japanese players on our Discord, really was saying that the mighty skill 2 is a really good option as well. And so I think there are some different ways that you can play him. Whether you have, I think, attack 108 across the board, and then max brave 330, C50, 2-star, and the mighty skill 2, all viable options. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to arts, you want that primary art and then as best secondary arts as possible, and you'll probably be fine. I imagine the majority of people are not grinding for perfect arts, but if you were, you could try a mix between C50 and the skill 2 and see how that play style worked for you. Didn't know if anybody else wanted to throw in anything there. Mino, did you have anything to add in that conversation?
I guess the only minor thing is that I do believe I talked to Roba a bit. We mathed it out. I think skill 2 mighty can have some advantages for now, but I am a very lazy artifact farmer. I don't like refarming artifacts, so I'm picking C50 in the long run, because as good as his skill 2 is, as the game goes on, let's be realistic, kits are going to grow.
Yeah.
So I think investing heavily on one button out of like 7 is not the best way to go. I mean, if you want to have like the best Leo friend, that's probably the best way to do it. But he has so his skill 2 will be good, but you're not helping. His brave plus will be weaker. His HP plus, his skill 1, his EX, his LD when he gets it, his call ability, his C75, these are all going to suffer for making one ability stronger. So I'm usually not a fan of that. I think it's probably still better now, but to be on the safe side, C50 is a stat boost to every single stat. Yeah. So, can't go wrong with that.
Well, I think my final thought on Leo is, in terms of the entire argument about Aranea versus Leo, I don't think you need Leo. Especially if you have Aranea. I don't think at this point you need anyone. I don't think that's I don't think that's the nature of the game. I don't think this is a game where you have must pulls, but there are obviously characters that are a little bit stronger overall than others, and I think Leo is one of those characters. He's very strong and does exceedingly well at what he does, which is provide party utility, especially against single target enemies, or at least a enemy. The one thing I will say just before I kind of conclude that is his EX does not automatically, the picture does not change, or the text does not change to Shock Plus when you have one boss left. It changes in the prompt after you hit the button. And so that confused me. I'm like, why is his EX not turning to the plus variant? I'm only fighting one boss. It does it after you hit the button. So that's a little confusing for characters that their abilities do change. But I guess at the end of the day is, well, if you can afford to have both, right? It's not going to hurt you to have both Aranea and Leo. But if you can't afford Leo right now, I don't think you should feel bad about skipping him. Or if you didn't get Aranea and want Leo, pull for Leo, but realize you're going to need to have some single target damage dealers to go along with him. And if you've created a team of all AoE characters, he's not going to do as much utility for you as Aranea would have, or maybe some other characters will down the line. So I think that's my final word. Kriese, did you have anything to kind of say more about Leo?
No, I think you guys covered it pretty well.
Well, let's go to the podcast polls and see what you all were doing. Remember, for all of our banners through MateriaBot, which our friend Quetz does, you can go on to our Discord and submit your own poll. So we had 20... Oh, so it must be...
MateriaBot was acting up.
Okay, yes.
Doesn't have the right counts.
So it's on the bottom. So 27 pitying, 5... pitying means spending up to 75,000 gems. 5 just willing to spend some gems. 25 or 27 ticketing. I didn't even submit this there. 28 ticketing. I ticketed it. And 6 skipping. So the 6 of you brave souls, good luck. I hope if you did pull, I hope you pulled, Leo, and I hope it didn't cost you an arm and a leg. But here's something interesting. Of all of those who were going to get Leo's EX, only 1 was going to keep it at EX, 4 realize, one with one ingot investment, one
Those
with,
ones are just
those are
materia
just
bot
two.
mark.
So no one with one or two. Although I did see some arguments from our Should You Pull friends, all our friends that do Should You Pull videos about maybe just doing one or two ingot investment. But I do really think he shines at 3-3, and that's why we had 46 people willing to 3-3 Leo. Galuf's a little different. 20 going to book him, or 19 going to book him. 1 was going to invest 2 ingots, and 26 fully realizing him. So a lot of people fully realizing Galuf. So a good banner. Now, I think I'm going to do a little video. I don't know what you guys think about, really about thinking about some of these banners, because we're still at a point of 2 EX banners, but in 2 months, 3 months, assuming there's not any delays, we're going to be in an era of 3 EX banners with LD and burst weapon. So I think we need to be a little bit conservative here over the next few months. There's going to be a lot of tempting characters, but at the end of the day, our chances to get better weapons and more better weapons, or a better variety of better weapons, is going to increase exponentially in a couple months. So I'm trying to be fairly conservative in my spending, and so even though this is a good banner, I'm not sure it's the best banner we're going to see over the next few months. So if you did feel you could skip, great, although I'm already probably talking to everybody who's already pulled on this, so good luck to that. Let us move from the characters to the story. We did get a story. I thought it was okay. The story focused on, there will be spoilers, so move ahead 10 minutes or so if you don't want to be spoiled. But I thought the story was pretty good. It focused, of course, on Leo and his relationship to the cast of Final Fantasy VI, and it focused on Bart's and the relationship that the characters of Final Fantasy V, who were the ones who kind of got their memories back this time around, how they were interacting with each other. But that kind of was a secondary story, even though it kind of made it was.
I'm just going to chime in quickly and say that this story chapter is my favorite for Act 2 so far, for the same reason. Mino likes Jack scenes, and I'll let you guess on why
yes,
that is.
I was definitely going to say there's a certain character has a huge role. Yeah, Aero, what are you going to say?
I enjoyed this chapter for a certain someone as well. As I'm, a certain
Leo?
FF5. No, actually not.
She loves the villains.
I did appreciate some of the FF5 things, and I will get more into that as we go into this, of course.
Yeah. I want you to cover them, because I think the main thread is the FF5.
Yeah.
Leo is just side dressing, and as usual, I found the side dressing more interesting than the furthering of the plot. And I tell Kriese this all the time, but I was actually really interested in what they did with Leo. I was kind of joking earlier, but they really did lean into Leo's dark side. I do like that he's like, no, I'm on a mission of atonement, and like people like the FF6 cast, I think, we're trying to cut him slack, right? Like, oh, you were an honorable guy, you weren't so bad. But Leo's like, no, I led the Empire's armies. I was responsible for a lot of deaths, and he's like, honestly, given the chance, because he's like, it's all out of loyalty. I grew up in the Empire. No matter what, I belong to the Empire. And he's like, if the Empire was here right now, I would rejoin in a heartbeat and kill all those people again. And no, but I like that they delved into that, because like, he was the enemy. He's a very honorable guy, like Rubicante from FF4, right? Like, Rubicante was a great guy. He was still an antagonist. I like
great
that.
Dresser. He really fashionable.
But basically, a lot of the very simplistic storytelling is they make things very black and white, and I like that they leaned gray with Leo, and he found that cool role of being Spiritus's enforcer, right? Keeping his villains in check. That's kind of what he did in the Empire, right?
Yeah.
He kind of kept Kefka in check while he was there. So I thought they did Leo a lot of justice, and I liked all the side stuff. And then, of course, the story resumed, and then I checked out. But Aero, do you want to tell us about Bart's next step?
Well, I haven't completely finished the chapter yet, but I really liked overall what they've been doing with Bart's. And I like that the team's like, oh, it's so weird. He's not acting like himself,
And they touched on the ending a bit of FF5, and I thought that was an interesting choice because we often don't focus on the endings too much. But I do recall the ending of 5. Everybody kind of does go back to their place. I remember that. They don't really stick it out. You know how like in most of the endings that the characters kind of are like, yeah, let's stick it out together. We're best friends and blah, blah, blah. But like FF5's kind of sad. They kind of break apart. And, you know, Lena and Ferris go over to the castle and do their thing. And Kryl goes back wherever she was at. And I don't remember the name of the world. It's been a long time. And Bart goes back with his Chocobo. And I always thought that was kind of sad. And I really am glad they touched on that with the Bart's mannequin and like what his true feelings were regarding that. I like that a bit. I'm gonna find out what the ending is later this week, and yeah, I'm gonna be excited to see how they conclude it.
Not to
That's a
spoil,
good perspective.
not to
Makes me
spoil
appreciate
another
it.
game, but Final Fantasy 12 is kind of like that too. Kind of everybody's on their own. You know, there's not this like happy reunion. You know, a lot of the games end like that. But yeah, I agree with Mino. I really liked the Leo Gilgamesh part of the story, and I really was the Final Fantasy V, although it's really on the lower end of my favorite Final Fantasy games, so it was fine. It didn't upset me, but it didn't connect with me as nearly as much as the Leo Gilgamesh story. I thought was very, very well done. It was funny and it was introspective, and I mean, for this game, it was actually written really well. And that's
right.
this is not, it's not Shakespeare.
Like
I'm
I
just
said,
going to
I
say
appreciate-
it. Greg was the best part of this chapter.
He was. I agree.
He was really
100%.
good. He
was
looked
great.
really good in this chapter. I was gonna say again, agreed with Mark. Like I like repeating myself. I like how they went gray with Leo, but it doesn't help that I think Bars is an idiot, and I didn't understand his plan at all. To try to avoid specific spoilers for Arrow, I don't understand his plan at all. He admits at the end, I was just doing whatever. You know, Galuf even chews him out. He's like, that was a really stupid fucking plan. And Bars, I don't understand why Bars gave the memory. I don't know what it accomplished, and they got it back in the end. I don't think anything changed. Like, holy crap, did that bother me a lot.
Bart's is,
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like always been dumb and always kind of just gone along with what is it, the flow, and that's kind of his thing. But he's lucky this time it worked out for him. But yeah, I have to agree. Maybe they could have written it better, but the idea that the team didn't really know Bart's like they think they did, I think that's a really interesting perspective to give.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'm glad we have you on here for the like. You are bringing up good points, and I'm appreciating a little more. Kriese, did you have any further insights into this?
Absolutely. Basically, Greg was amazing. He's basically took little Leo under his wing, showed him the ropes, tried to get him to meet up with the team that he knew Leo belonged with, and basically worked as a cheerleader for everyone. He cheered up Leo, then he cheered up Bart and the FF5 gang and said, yeah, you guys are the real heroes. I don't need to be the hero. I'll stand here and point you towards the bad guys.
So what we're saying is Gilgamesh is the real hero of Defo.
Of FF5.
Yeah, of the and he's definitely the real hero of FF5. He had his noble end, his noble sacrifice. Just like every other character in Final Fantasy 2, right? Where people are dying left and right. If you're an NPC, you're pretty much destined to give your life for
Gilgamesh
something.
never dies. He just gets trapped in the void and has to dimension hop for the rest of eternity.
Well, that's something. Right.
I think Gilgamesh is technically the only character who found his way into the Dissidia world rather than being summoned there.
I think that's what the story, right?
Yeah, he just showed up. Like, hey, what are you guys all doing? Yeah, because there is a story when we'll see it, again, but there is the point in his story where he talks about, being through all these different veins and traveling through all these different games. So. We did get a co-op event with this as well. It's the Siege on the Flying Fortress. There's a level 50 and a level 70. You're likely going to be playing the level 70 over and over again. And it is a soul cannon. You do have to kill the soul cannon and both launchers. It's a level 70 fight, and you're probably going to be playing with a few General Leos, so it shouldn't take you very long. It's about a 4-round on a bad day. It's about a 4-round co-op. I'm not sure that there's anything else to share about that besides, hey, there's some good stuff in the store.
It's going to be a kind of drag of a farm because this co-op shop does have some expensive items that you can collect, and this does not compensate for that by giving you extra co-op tokens. So you'll either be popping a couple 3x item books, or you'll be spending time in the co-op.
I will be using 3x item books, which I use anyway for co-op, and get more Leo artifacts as I try to get my perfect Leo arts. We did also have a chaos fight. Now the story is there's a good length of these stories are always a good length, which is nice. And there is a chaos fight. It is the fight after the final fight in the chapter. So spoilers if you're you haven't gotten to that point.
The chaos fight is not story related at all.
Correct.
It is basically a bonus fight that's added afterwards, which I think this is the first time they're doing that. Last chapter, it was a story fight as the chaos fight.
Yes. So you can do. Let me just double check. You're able to do the story fight, which would be 842 Tree Seeking Void. That is the Cosmos difficulty, hard mode. So we're on hard. You can do that as co-op for, this is, remember, just 2 weeks. You only have a 2-week period from the time the chapter launched to do co-op. So if you're struggling with the chaos, with the Cosmos or chaos content, you can do both the Cosmos fight, 842, which is in the drop-down menu. That's really the final fight. And you can do the extra chaos fight, which is Narrow Road Part 2, which is the Demon Wall. He's the big boss at the end of that. And a really cool animation, although we were talking about how it would have been cooler if it was the brick wall from Final Fantasy IV, but it is what it is. You can do that as co-op as well. So if you are struggling with that fight, and we'll talk about that fight here in a second, but if you're struggling with it, feel free to come back and come on our Discord, do some co-op. You can do that for just 2 weeks, and then that disappears. You don't get any special rewards, but if you're having trouble with the chaos fights, this is a way to do it. So that does bring us, I don't think the Cosmos fight is probably anything at this point that we need to go over. Oh, I'm in a story. But the Chaos fight is a 2-wave Chaos fight. We have our first wave with I think it's a Lich type enemy. It is the Skull Wizard. It's a skeleton
the Kefka
type.
boss.
Yep, the Kefka boss, which we've fought many different times, and a Skull Dragon. They buff themselves considerably. They have some debuffs. The Skull Dragon is weak to ice and holy. The Skull Wizard is resistant to dark. They are fairly annoying. So your Imperilers do help. Guess what? There is a Synergy Imperiler. Her name is Lilisette. Even if you have her just booked or with 1 ingot like I do, she is super useful. I think there were even some runs. I think Jin Lee may have done a run with just her 1535. So that is an option as well. You don't need it, but she does do what she does well. And then there is the final boss, the Demon Wall. And I think somebody made the comment of, hey, who are the most powerful characters right now? Well, let's make this Holy Absorb, Dark Absorb, and Magic highly resistant. And you can't knock it back. So that takes out a lot of your Dark Knight Cecil, your Paladin Cecil, your Yuri, your Magic dealers. You have to be a little bit more crafty in that. But you can delay this thing to holy hell because we have Vayne, we have Aranea, and we have Leo, and you can put them all on one team and not give this thing a turn. Or you can use Leo, Vayne, and Lilisette like I did. I did not use Aranea and delay this thing to holy hell. I don't know what you guys did, but if you went through this, kind of tell us what you did. Kriese, you did finish this, so how did you approach it?
I finished it a half hour before the podcast began. I brought basically my power team: Penelo, Aranea, Zach. Assuming Zach would just tank everything, and he did a great job with that. Aranea as the damage, and Penelo for the support and healing. The big thing to note about this fight is that you are going to take a decent amount of HP damage.
Yep.
I think I had to take 2 Candle in the Winds from the first wave boss, and I had to take 2 of the recast abilities from the Demon Wall that does guaranteed HP damage. So HP damage, from what I can tell, is not possible to 100% avoid. So Penelo was necessary for that. She also provided a lot of battery. Aranea was helpful. I'm going to point out, I think I did this last week too, that Aranea is starting to show her age and her limits in her combat longevity. You have to play around her HP plus a lot more to keep her going for full chaos fights now, whereas in the past you could get away with being a little bit more loosey-goosey with it. And Zach, his big issue here is that unless you bring an Imperial Enchant team, he's going to do no damage with his EX on the Demon Wall because it high resists magic. So I was basically only pushing the EX button after Penelo had already batteried him to maintain his shield buff, basically. Basic thing that I did was I popped in a friend Aranea to delay and summon once, or delay the boss further once the boss got below 50% health, and tried to burn it down before it could activate a third recast ability. Again, it was pretty general with my team, and it was no boosted characters. If you're using boosted characters, you can probably work around it a little better. Another thing I forgot to mention is Demon Wall also will self-battery itself for a couple of times during the fight, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you have the Brave Shade to remove its Brave before it does an attack and one-shot someone.
What's its recharge? I killed it before it did its recharge attack. What's its crush?
Its recharge ability is Crush, which is it gains Brave based on one of its stats, then it does an AoE Brave plus HP attack. It will do HP damage. You can't avoid it 100%. It's also, I believe, undodgeable, so Edge will not work, and Galuf will not work for dodging that attack. You have to take it. Once he gets below 50% health, it changes into Crush Plus, which is basically just a harder hitting version of it.
Great. Mino, did you tackle this yet?
Yeah, full delay team. Ishtola, Leo, and Vayne. Had a blast trying them out. Mainly just wanted to test out Leo and Vayne together. And then, so I, like you, the boss got very little turns. A lot of people in chat are saying they entered this without a debuffer. How do you survive the Lich's Candle attack without a debuffer? Isn't that just a one-shot if you don't debuff it?
I did not have that issue. My Zach was only taking about half his health pool as a hit for it, so he was getting topped off within a turn or two afterwards.
Huh. Well, CSAM's saying Bosch to eat that attack, but I swear it was doing I think over 10k. So I think you have to be pretty lucky with that targeting if you don't bring a debuffer. I kind of want to try it though. I want to try our TCC challenge on this fight because it is a big DPS race with a tight turn count. So I want to try it with the meta characters removed. But a lot of people were saying Bosch.
So I
thought it was Crush that could be dodged. Am I thinking of a different ability?
It doesn't say that specifically under Crush. It just says recast ability increases Brave, group melee, Brave plus HP attack, Crush plus powerful Crush with greater Brave increase. So,
Keimhart's saying, does your Zach have 36k health or something? If
I don't know why I was not having issues with the Candle
everyone's
in the
saying
Wind.
It's 18k damage. Oh, Zach has
Last Stand, and I wasn't paying attention enough. I do recall that my Zach actually dodged one of the Candle in the Winds by pure chance, so that might have helped a bit.
Okay, so Last Stand it. Got it. Then I can do it without a debuffer. But yeah, I was annoyed. Actually, I was wrong. I didn't bring Ishtola as my third. Now that I think about it, I needed a debuffer, so I brought Ferris.
Oh yeah.
She did okay, I guess. She was literally there just so I could survive Candle.
To do
And she
debuffs.
did okay, but yeah, now I want to try it again.
Arrow, did you
Arrow
do this?
didn't beat
I haven't finished story yet,
Okay.
so
Okay, yeah.
no, not yet. I'll probably in another day or
We-
so. I'll be there, and I'll have a video ready.
The Macnol does have his call to arms up on Reddit, so you can check that out. And there is a TCC challenge for this event. It's fairly light, so I think there's a good number of characters you can use. Friend Aranea, Friend Aranea, they are banned, as well as synergy characters, so Galuf, Lilisette, Leo, and we also banned Vayne.
I'll apologize right now for saying that the crush attack is undodgeable, because apparently I'm very wrong. I thought I read that, and I don't know where I read it now because I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. So the TCC challenge, the bans are. That's not going to pull it up here. The bans are
Leo, Galuf, Lilisette, Vayne, Penelo.
Okay, Vayne and Penelo. Okay, so a lot of options. We just kind of took out the ones that are going to cheese it a little bit more. So yeah, you can find some. Still should be a little bit challenging. There was only one person, I think, or maybe no. I don't think there was anyone. Selfie is okay, CSAM. Yes, Selfie's not banned. Yep, you can use Selfie, no doubt. You can't use her with Leo though, so good luck with that. But yeah, sure, you can use Selfie and anybody else. And so submit all those, and we'll talk about them next week. Well. Yeah, I could have just looked in the show notes and it would have had it written there. So thank you for that, Kriese. How about questions? So we have some time for host discussion. How wonderful. So Kriese, did you want to walk us through some questions for this week?
Sure, I can walk us through some questions. And before anyone asks, we're not going to cover Mino's question on the live show. We'll do it in the post show.
Perfect.
I think that sounds fair.
That's a great reason to join us.
We already talked about the Aranea versus General Leo as a friend unit question, so I'm going to skip that.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of touched on that, where we think one each would be better. Next thing is, which banner do you think had the best team composition represented across the full banner? By s3e98. So basically, which banner from recent history would you say has had the best overall breakdown of, like, out of the characters represented, would actually give you a reasonable team comp as a starting point, that sort of thing?
I think that the Arc 2 Chapter 7 banner was a very good banner for new players. That would be Ignis, Zach, and Noctis. So I think that's a decent team in itself right there. I thought there was another one that I just thought was an amazing kind of starting banner, but anybody else have one?
I actually think this banner is a pretty solid one.
Yeah.
Lilisette is probably the least, one of the lower dependent characters for her EX. Galuf is a solid tank for several fights. And Leo is a strong utility damage character. So this story chapter banner is actually a pretty solid starting point too, as was the Vayne Peaceful banner. Even though Cyan's on it, Vayne and Peaceful alone were really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little further back, and I can't believe I'm going to answer it with this answer. But I got to admit, if you were a new player or you just really needed a new team, that Lock banner, when it came back, was pretty good. You know, where Celeste came back and Setzer was on it. That's a good starting team, even though Setzer didn't have his EX there. Having Freeze Joker just to help you get through waves, along with Phoenix Ray to get through early game content. It's so nice having an AoE person, and they have fast animations. So I'm going to go with that, because you get a good tank, you get a good like middle line character, and you get a really good utility character for early content.
Cool.
This is a tough question. Let me shoot to the future, because I feel like people probably want to know, well, what's a upcoming banner that's gonna be good to pull on for a full party. I'm looking at
Hope, Lightning, and Shadow.
I don't see, like, team comp wise, I don't know if it's great to run the three of those together. But I think what works is Ramza, Jack, and Ignis. I think work pretty damn well together. Ignis is the buffer battery, Ramza as the debuffer. Oh, he also buffs, and Jack is the DPS who can sort of dodge attacks, has a tanky gimmick. I think that might be a decent one if you're starting fresh and you need a full party. Um, yeah, that's just off the top of my head. Kriese, what else we got?
From Lafarl, with a new code system in play for Abyss, do the hosts have any suggestions for new codes they would like to see in future Abyss strata? One idea he has is maybe capping the max CP you can equip per strata.
There are a lot of mobile games, as someone who plays all of them. There are a lot of mobile games that only allow you to bring a certain number of points into a battle, and each character has kind of a point limitation, right? And the higher rarity the character, the more points they're worth, all that kind of stuff. So that's mostly for games that do PvP very heavily, so it can be balanced. But yeah, that would be something that, yeah, you can only have so much. I don't know that they would do that. It probably would take a little too much, but that'd be interesting. I don't have
I
any.
can see some creative restrictions, such as limiting things to certain characters based on their story roles. So, for example, having to use a main series villain in an encounter might be an interesting code system to do for like a substratum sort of thing.
Yeah. Good.
That might be a terrible idea, but I just wanted to throw it out there as a possibility.
I don't really have any idea what to answer with on this one. I
These are tough questions.
Yeah, it's not like I thought about that question actually when I knew I was going to be guessing, and I still haven't come up with anything. I feel really bad, but I'm sorry, LaFarrell. I don't got an answer for this one.
Great question, LaFaro. You stumped the host. So
okay, we'll move on to another question.
I got one.
You get to ask another question next week.
Purely flavor, but stuff like twins only, or sibling characters, or characters in a certain age bracket. I don't know. It's completely unrealistic, but it's an answer.
Yeah, those things aren't really coded into the game, but it would be fun, right?
You're right. Fuck.
Yeah.
Voice actors. There you go.
Voice
you
actors.
can only use characters voiced by this voice actor. Those are listed on all the character profiles. That's good.
They are.
Okay, from Al Hazard. I am a free-to-play player, but wondering if I should buy gems for experience books for board farming since I don't have a lot of time to grind them out. I do not think, personally, you have to stoop to buying gems to afford experience books for board farming. However, I do think experience books are very useful for board farming. I've relied heavily on triple EXP books to get caught up on the last several summon boards once they unlock. They tend to be relatively cheap, and it just requires you just saving some gems to put towards them and allocating some gems towards it. You do not have to buy gems with real money in order to afford these experience books, in my opinion. Other hosts?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's no reason that I think you should buy triple books. I think they're a great value. I buy them when they're on sale. Stock up. I buy about 50 at a time when they're on sale, especially the 15-minute books. And yeah, I mean, I use them for everything. The XP books and the double item books, they are time savers. And so, yeah, why not? It's less than, what about 50 books is what, about 4,000? Even less than that now, right? So yeah, why not? It's less than a multi-pull, and you're saving a lot of time and getting a lot of energy. It's going to be the same way for the Mog Pass. Especially if you can get the $5 Mog Pass, the cheaper one, that would be worth maybe spending money on. But you don't need to spend money on gems unless you can. And if you can, yeah, support the game. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, you don't have to. You can buy those kind of things with gems.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I don't know if they meant to say use real money to buy gems to buy these items, or use gems to buy these items. Either way, if you're hurting for time, yeah, use the gems. Like that's why there's the quality of life upgrades, like the inventory upgrade for gems and the books. No, I know so many people who buy the ×3 books when they're on sale. every board farm, and they do it much faster than me and don't suffer nearly as much as I do. I use ×2 books constantly, and because I refuse to spend my gems on it. It's a bad idea. If you're limited on time, go ahead and spend
Mistleton
your
is
gems.
clarifying that they do mean real money. In my opinion, the amount of gems you spend on the triple experience books is less than the gems you earn by using those books to get
Right.
the treasures for all your characters. So it's a time-saving measure that helps get your characters up. If you are really that interested in saving time that you are considering it, I think it is a worth of your gem investment, even if you are concerned about saving for the LD burst era.
Yeah, I think
Agreed.
the question is, because I have a ton of double EX books, double XP books, double item books. So I think the question is time, right? Have you done all your boards, and are you comfortable doing them with the double XP books, and are you comfortable spending that extra time? If so, then yeah, don't use gems, because you probably have enough free double XP books to not do that. But if you're sitting on a whole bunch of boards that aren't completed and boards that haven't been farmed, then yeah, maybe it's time to invest in, because you have just resources just sitting there, gems and tickets that are just sitting in your boards unclaimed because you haven't spent the time because it's too much time. And if it's too much time, then spend the gems on the things. God of Cloud9 says, I'm not going to spend $5 on a Mog Pass because I can spend $5 on the Crystal Chronicles podcast, and that is the right answer. So you also win tonight. Thank you.
Mistleton, it's... Oh, sorry, Aaron, did you have something to say?
I do want to say something about this.
Okay.
Look, if you are a player who is behind on boards because you joined after boards have been released, I highly recommend considering, like, let me use my LC gems from for this month to get the ×3 books, or like these the 3,000 gems you get every month just from logging in daily and doing your dailies. You can budget those in for your books. I feel like it's totally worth it. I value my time so much. So yes, ×3 books for life. So they are worth every penny of my gems that I use, free to play or not.
Yeah, Mistleton's saying that they actually have a ton of board treasures unclaimed and unfarmed. Yeah. So 100%, you spend money to make money, right? Like, you spend a few gems to claim all these additional gems. You're losing very little in the long run. Right now, you're losing a lot because without the super synergy running, that's a lot more time needed to claim all those treasures. And you don't even have those gems in the first place. If you spend some gems to claim all the gems, not only are you saving yourself a ton of time, but then you'll have a lot more resources in hand. So in your case, especially since you're saying you're behind on board farms as it is, if I could barely play this game, then yeah, I would spend... The gems are free currency. Spend the free currency to get more free currency. I don't think you need to spend real money.
When we're not in super synergy or special synergy, special boosted, just do it on characters with double experience, right? So don't be trying to grind all your boards outside of synergy, because you're just going to be spending all kinds of time, even with the triple book. So do it with the double experience characters, or wait till the synergy comes around for all the boards. Sometimes we get that synergy back again to help it off. So. Or wait till Mog Pass. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly what I was going to say, Mark. I was saying if you're willing to spend real money on gems to buy these books, just spend real money on Mog Pass.
Yep.
It's much more economic. Just wait it out a few more months. You don't need every board max the second. So if you wait it out, in JP, it is the equivalent of 6 USD to more than double your farming rate.
Yep.
For all across the board, and that stacks with the ×2 modifiers and the synergy. So that is so much faster and so much cheaper than buying gems. $5 of gems is what, like 100 gems? Is that even enough for like a ×3 book? I never buy the ×3 book, so I don't know how much they actually cost.
Yeah, I forget what the sale price is now for the 15 minute books, because that's changed. So. Kriese, next question. Thank you.
Next question comes from Synergy. Are there any characters worth pulling for? Basically, are there any characters worth pulling for EX Plus before the Burst LD era to help stay on top of the Chaos era? Like, are there any top tier characters you feel are worth people's attention, even if they're fine right now in Chaos, to get them the rest of the way, or characters that might carry into the Burst LD era well? Mino, I think you had a couple ideas on this, right?
If we're limiting it to, I want to limit to just 3 so the decisions matter more. But I mean, yeah, Infamous Element has it right. He named 2 of the ones I was going to automatically name. Even if your roster is as stacked as possible right now, if you want to still keep coasting, Keese is a really big one. I'm personally skipping him, but Keese is a really, really big one to trivialize content for just a little bit, a month or month and a half, 2 months, which is easy coasting. Arciella is queen support for a long time. Before LD a third, was another big meta. Help me out here, Mark.
Well, I can tell you what I am only allowing myself 1 gem pull per month until Burst era. And it may not even be. It may be less than 1 gem pull per month because I'm still capped on tickets. So Hope is the first one. He's just a decent support, and that's just an amazing banner with Lightning, Hope, and Shadow, and I don't have any 3 of those. The next 3 are Snow. Snow is an amazing tank. Arciella is just an incredible support unit. She does everything. And then Eldnarsh is just crazy damage dealer. Yep.
There you go.
In the midst of a lot of crates, so we're going to have, just looking at the supports, you have Hope, Porum, Aerith, Ramza, Lena, Freya, Prompto, Fujin, Alphanod, Garnet, Rajin, Zaz, Sherlotta, Rydia, Kistis. I mean, so there's tons of supports coming out here with EX pluses over the next, a few months. Then you have the tank. Snow is really the only big tank coming up. Then you have Keese in Cloud of Duty, Cloud of Darkness. There, some other characters, like Cater and Kefka, Trey and what's his name, Jack, are in there too. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of decent characters, but I think for me, Arciella, Snow, and Eldnarsh are 3 I am also planning to skip Keese, but ticket pull on Cloud of Darkness, ticket pull on Alphanod, ticket pull on Afmao as well. I forgot her. She's great.
Yeah, Mark's naming a million characters. I'm just going to go with Arciella, Keese, and Eldnarsh. Unless, like me and Mark, if you're skipping Keese, I'd say Raijin for the
Raijin. Zaz is a good banner, yeah.
These are all characters that are seen far in the LD era. Yeah. For sure. And with the niche uses that don't get power crept immediately. Kriese, do you have anything?
I think you've hit all the ones I was going to mention.
Yeah, Mark, you named every character.
I talked about every character. Every character.
Yeah, he stole them all.
I'll just mention that I really like Snow's kits, and I think he turns into a wall after getting hit a couple times, where he is basically undamageable, which makes him a very solid unit to stick in parties, especially because he brings some party auras. He doesn't protect against AoE attacks, but he does make it so single target attacks will never hurt anyone again. Aero, do you have any other suggestions?
I think Alphanod is going to be one of the better banners near the end to pull, personally. I think his kit's really good. Ida's just kind of a nice prize. Her EX Plus is good for the time. But yeah, I'm going to go with Alphanod being the main one. I'm eyeballing for in Chaos that I didn't originally know I was going to pull for, but over time I've decided I think he's worth it. He goes into, I believe he is viable in early LD Bursto era. So that'll be my top.
Remember, if you're not familiar with how the transition from EX Plus to LD and Burst weapons, which are the new tiers of weapons, you do not immediately there's not immediately a jump in difficulty. The Lufania difficulty, which is the next highest difficulty, does not come till several months after we get introduced to LD and burst weapons, and level 80 does not come till after that. So there's a chunk of time when burst weapons and LD weapons are introduced that a lot of these EX pluses over the last few months are still very valuable, and still are going to be able to be used in content. And you're going to start getting banners with a lot more EXs, and the EX rate is increased. So you're going to have a lot more EX uses on your plate. So I am encouraging people to, with all those great characters that I just mentioned, because you're going to watch the Should You polls and they're going to be hyping everybody over the next few months. I'm encouraging people to save as much as possible over the next 3 months, because the banners are just so much better. I mean, that's just the, for me over the next few months, there's very few banners where I don't have at least one of the EXs. And at that point, you're only having one EX to pull on, or at best case scenario, 2 EXs to pull on, where you're going to have 5 weapons that you would like, 3 EXs, a burst, and an LD in Japan. And that's just so much more effective, especially to use your gems or even your tickets. So if you can get through with limited investment over the next few months to keep yourself interested, to keep through content, I would really, really suggest doing that, and saving resources for Burst LD era.
A lot of people in chat are saying, hopefully they speed up the end of Chaos era and get Lufania here faster. Yeah, I fucking hope so. Honestly, it is 4 months of garbage time. The only thing noticeable is the challenge quests, where if you have the featured BT character, then you're good for 2 weeks. Like, it's not like I've seen these BT characters carry 2 other synergies with no EXs solo. I don't know. I know a lot of Japanese players said they came very close to quitting the game in the 4 months of garbage time, because it was very, very, very boring. And I don't. Global's got to do something, please.
Hey,
this is
it means
terrible.
early burst is possible to skip a lot of burst weapons.
Who's gonna skip the early burst though?
I'm gonna pity the first one. So
I'm not gonna go for them.
I'm
I
gonna
only
pity the first one.
want Vaughn out of the early ones, and I haven't been excited for another one that I felt like I just had to have after that. So yeah, just Vaughn right now.
They are all the burst weapons are all very skippable except for Arden. It's skippable too, but it's really powerful.
Anyways, let's move on to the next question so we can actually clear out this list before we call it a night. Jake AW asks, he says 5. I'm going to break it down to 1 or 2. Who do you think are the most viable book-only EX Plus characters? And I'm going to say, just in general, it's always going to be supports that benefit the most from the EX-only realization and don't depend as heavily on the full realization, because typically they're doing what they need to do regardless on how much in-game investment you do. So, for example, 0 out of 3 Deuce works really well for me in Dimensions and Entropy. Bosch as a tank, I was able to use him a bit in Dimensions and Entropy. It's characters that fill roles that are not primarily around dealing damage. Does anyone have specific 0-3 book-only characters that I feel are solid and viable and worth considering using?
Warrior of Light. Yep.
Oh yeah, Warrior of Light. I personally did 0-3 Sarah. People in chat are saying 0-3 Rem, Sarah, Ignis.
I have 0-3 Vincent and 0-3 Vanille are both viable.
0-3 Penelo, I guess people are saying.
Ignis is pretty solid at 0-3. That's true. Once he's booked, he gets most of what he gets, other than just starting with his buffs active.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Penelo, but yeah. 0-3 Lease. Yeah,
These are characters you guys consider viable and actually useful in a variety of circumstances, not characters that can get away with being 0-3. A lot of characters can get away with being 0-3. Doesn't mean they're good.
0-3 Gao, I don't think I've ever seen one of those.
There's been a couple that popped up in Cold Arms.
Heaven91, thank you for the subscription at Tier 1. Thank you very much.
0-3 Kimari, I've seen a couple of actually.
I also see Galuf in here, or Galuf, however you want to pronounce it. And I'm going to agree. That guy is dumb with just the book. And I've just started playing him. And I'm going to agree with that one hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think
Okay,
Warrior
next
of
question
Light the
actually
most
comes
used.
from Aarolei.
Oh.
So Japan recently had upcoming events for April canceled and are being replaced with repeat character events from a few months ago. Do the hosts think this can happen in global? We got a notification that we are getting all of our events through that are on the calendar right now, but we do not know what will be happening going into May. So Mino, do you want to start?
For what's Arrow's question? Oh, the delay, right?
Are we going to get canceled upcoming events? Are we going to see repeat character events to fill time until they can get caught up in global?
I don't know how much I can say. Oh, I know how much I can say. Basically, the dev team for JP and the dev team for GL are located in different places. So, how JP is handling the delay would be different than how GL will handle the delay if there is a delay at all.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
Well, so in the global version of the game, though, there has been some delays on updates, on bug fixes, right?
Oh, they have announced they are delaying bug fixes, so the bug fix list is actually getting pretty nice and long right now. For example, there's a lot of typoed story chapter, story stage names. There's a couple of typoed which stage you have to clear and or complete to get certain rewards unlocked right now. They've acknowledged the Beatrix bug and they cannot fix it right now, so bugs are not going to be fixed for a while.
So the Japanese the Japanese version of the game team, we believe, is in Japan, right? And Japan right now is having a pretty significant resurgence or lockdown because of the COVID-19. So, I mean, it's a very serious issue for most of us around the world. Our dev team is not in Japan, is from what I understand. They're not here in America either. But we have people in North America and people in Europe who are working on the global version of the game, and people in other countries as well. So, I mean, it really depends on both where they are, but also on the ability Squex wants to give to its people to actually access things from home. And I know there's a lot of software companies and game companies that are not comfortable with employees taking information from the servers on home or accessing server information from home or corporate information except from the office. I mean, that's part of it as well. So we'll see. Hopefully not. You know, the nice thing about global is the building blocks of everything that we have is already there. So they don't have to reinvent everything. They have to translate stuff, all that kind of stuff. So there could be some delays, but it's not like they're creating new content and needing to spend all that time, which the Japanese team is doing to create new content. So we'll see. Next.
I'm going to say that I suspect we will see some delays into early April, at least, maybe through... Sorry, not April, I mean May.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see a timeline shift where it might not be as severe as Japan, where half a month's events are suddenly delayed and replaced with reruns, but we might see a week or two where we either just get A, filler content, B, rerun content, or C, no content at all.
Now, I will say, to clarify, they are rerunning several events. You obviously can't rerun Lost Chapters, but they are rerunning character events in Japan instead of adding new character events or new events. And if you've already completed those events, you are able to get additional rewards. So
they also changed up the banners too. So
yeah, and the banners are
actually really, really good.
And that's because of, in Japan, that's because of the burst weapons, right? They needed to change up the banners. So even if we get repeat events, like if they reran Beatrix event, which would make sense, not Beatrix, Aranea event, which would make sense. You know, we would still be able to get to the events, and there might be different characters on the banner in addition to her. So, or anybody else that they choose. They chose several decent banners, to be fair, in Japan. So good characters.
Okay, next question. LaFarrell asks, have the hosts ever experimented with taking off certain weapon passes for one reason or another? The example he or she gives is possibly removing Beatrix's 15 CP passive in order to deal with the number of buffs she's putting up that are actually strong. I'm just going to say outright that the only time I take off weapon passes, period, is when I do not have CP, and they are very early characters that have garbage passives, such as Yuffie 15 CP, Setzer 15 CP, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I generally don't like to remove passives if I don't have to. The only exception would be for farming, removing speed passives, for soloing, removing speed passives. Besides that, I'd rather have the character at their max potential. And I do recall playing with that on Beatrix specifically back in the original release. But again, I'd rather develop a team around her that takes advantage of those, as opposed to trying to, manage it through taking off weapon passives.
I'm too lazy to ever touch passives. Any character that needs to remove speed passives to be good, I don't even bother doing that.
Repoint you guys towards it being specifically weapon passives that LaFarrell was asking about.
Right. And I'm saying if I won't even remove speed passive, there's no way in hell I'm touching weapon passives. So not a chance in hell. Arrow?
I'm like you, Mino, on this one. I don't like to remove weapon passives, even the garbage ones. It just looks weird on the screen, and I my OCD goes nuts with that. I don't like seeing that blue button on a skill. It just drives me insane.
Okay, next question. We'll skip the joke question for now. We'll get back to it at the end. Boy Kazif asks, what do you think about adding an expert difficulty to story and lost chapters? How would you design expert difficulty setting? What do you think would work best? Should it be a sort of tweak on just a harder hard? Should it do something else, etc.? I'll let Mino or Mark take this first because I don't really know what to say.
Mark.
I'm like a harder difficulty. Is that what Boy
Kazif's asking, what do you think about adding in a new expert difficulty? How could you imagine an expert, basically a hard difficulty added to permanent content?
If we would create a new, not just a new tier of difficulty, but a tier of play that would require more expertise, it really has to be a fight, not just with more HP, not just with more defense. That kind of stuff is just, that will be power crept. It needs to be fights designed around mechanics. So a fight that you have to understand the mechanics, and you need to build around the mechanics, and you need to learn how to manipulate the mechanics to be able to beat the fight. And that's a pretty common staple in Final Fantasy games. It's not just, okay, this next boss has more HP, more defense, does more damage. It's, this boss has this, pattern of attack, or this boss does this, less RNG, more patterns, more understanding the actual fight. And we occasionally have had fights like that. And I like fights like that you can kind of understand, okay, this is the boss's pattern. This is how they act. This is how you exploit their weakness. And if you can't do that, it's very difficult. But if you can, it's very doable. So, I don't know. More well thought out fights as opposed to this horse has 1 billion HP, or this character, enemy does like 1,000 billion damage.
The game's already moving towards that, if I'm understanding the question right. Like, I mean, we're already getting chaoses in the story chapters. Eventually, there'll be Lufanias, all in hard mode. Not sure.
I think what Boy Kasif really wants is for that to be retroactively attached to past story chapters and lost chapters by adding a new difficulty mode. I think that's what he's trying to get at. Because a lot of that early content is so out of date now, there's no challenge to it, even trying to do the hardest stage. So would it be reasonable to add in content that is difficult now?
Yeah.
or difficult by today's standards, 2 previous chapters, but put it behind a new gauge so that new players don't stumble into it by mistake, that sort of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
you could do it
yeah.
like they did it in this chapter, that it would be like a secret boss. So every chapter could have like a secret boss that would be whatever the highest difficulty level is added in. So whatever, you could use some of the secret bosses from the game to do that and just add them into older chapters as a new stage for people who have unlocked. Maybe you have to unlock all of the chapters to unlock the secret bosses or something, kind of end game content.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think eventually when we run out of story, like how in JP they ran out of summon boards, now they're going around again. Or, sometimes with events we get the LCs. So I think either starting with the next arc or the arc after that, they should skip, so it'd be story chapter and then like arc 1 chapter 1 LC, and then make it or don't even make new story chapters anymore. Just go through them all again and add another difficulty, I think, and then gap that with the reruns of the boards of the next tier, and BFFOO should just go on like that for like another 5 years. Just like go through everything and add another layer of difficulty.
Okay,
Next
Aaro, do you have
question.
anything to add to this? Sorry.
I'm going to veer a little bit from what he's kind of asking. I always thought it was weird that the co-ops, we never got like, those ones that are like really old from when we first had the game, those permanent ones. I wish they would add new difficulty, like at least a Cosmos permanent co-op we could use to like farm tokens or not gems, but like crystals or orbs or something. I just would like something like that, like something I just do to pass time with my friends every now and then, and maybe just have like rotating different co-ops that they add in there every month. I just wish they did something like that. It kind of would spice up the game, I feel like, a lot.
I like that idea. A semi-permanent Cosmos co-op that's up for a long period of time, gives some rewards that are not like time limited, but might be things like maybe a artifact token co-op shop sort of thing. That might be useful, right? That's what you're getting at?
Exactly, yeah.
I think expert mode story modes should have unskippable cutscenes.
And they should make you read them. You can't move forward
You have
until
to answer
you actually
a quiz.
Yeah.
You have to answer a quiz at the end of every cutscene, and if you get it
Nitro will
wrong, it
fail
loops
them.
again.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. Eon's just
Last
put in
question,
a new
yeah.
question. Basically, it's a follow-up to Aaro's question from earlier. If we're going to get an event rerun with a corresponding lost chapter attached, which one would you guys like to see the most?
So I'm gonna assume this is like if GL started rerunning events just like JP is right now, for the content delay. Man, what character would I like to see brought back already? Where did the last LC end? Vayne. Fuck, who came after Vayne? You know what? Skip me. Mark, go first.
I really want a banner with Rem. So I was trying to look and see what the last
Machina.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, I hate that. I already got that dumb guy. Was there another event with Rem on it that I would have liked better? But
Not recently.
I think it would be nice to bring back the Aranea banner just because she's so powerful, and for people who have started playing since then, it'd be nice to just have her back, right? So people who didn't get her had another chance. I always like that.
I think rerunning the not the Machina banner, the Aranea banner is probably a smart idea. Give people who might have missed Aranea for one reason or another chance at the second global first character.
4 players, a rerun of Ultimacia would be cool, but for me personally, a rerun of Gal would be cool.
Oh yeah, you missed out, Gal. Yeah.
Aaro?
Somebody said it in the chat, but Charlotta. And I would rerun Charlotta, but add Rydia's EX also to the banner. I know originally it didn't have it, but it's supposed to come. But rerun Charlotta and give us another chance for Rydia. But if not, just rerun Seymour on the banner. That'd be fine too.
Just give us triple EX banners.
Redbeard Elite has a good point. Rerunning Celis EX, I think that's a really good one to add to anybody's roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Okay,
Perfect.
that's it for the serious questions, I
Uh-oh.
think. Anthony has a troll one if you want to answer it, Mino, right now.
What's his question? Let me
Anthony
see.
asks, which is Mino's favorite, Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, or Hitmontip?
Hitmonlee. I don't know why. Oh, I guess Bruce Lee, right? He's the better martial artist. Kicking is cooler than boxing punching. That's lame. Uh, Mark?
What's the
It was specifically pointed towards Mino,
What-
and it's
what's
about
the-
we can all
what's
we
the
can all
baby
partake
one?
in this.
What's the baby one?
Hitmontop. No, Tyrogue, right? Tyrogue.
Yeah, Tyrogue is
Tyrogue.
the baby
Yeah,
form.
yeah, Tyrogue. That wasn't one of the options. That's what I'm going to say though. Suck it,
How
Tyrogue.
about you,
Wait,
Kriese?
I thought that was Hitmontop. That was the baby one.
No, Hitmontip
No.
is the third variant that was introduced with Tyrogue.
Wow, that shows you how much Pokemon I play. I only know Hitmonlee really well out of those. So I'll just answer that.
Let me get my Pokemon cards. We'll play on air.
I'm going to say Hitmonchan because Hitmonchan loves to troll Mino in his comments.
He is. He's great. He's a real person. He does exist. Yeah.
I don't know why Mark keeps saying that. It's just like how he keeps pointing. He keeps putting cherries on the sundae in quotes. I don't know why he keeps putting it in quotes.
Because it's a
Rude
quote.
thing.
It's a
He
quote.
doesn't need quotes.
Yeah,
Doesn't need qu- it doesn't need
quote.
quotes.
It's a quote. Yeah, it's a quote. You quoted. You said it, so I'm quoting you. Yeah. All right, Kriese. Is there anything else?
Okay. There's one other question left in here, but I'm going to save that for actually episode 100 that Syrus asked because I think it's more relevant to bring up there.
Great.
So we'll save it for that.
Well, you can ask all your questions, and if we run out of things to talk about, we'll answer them by joining our Discord and going to podcast questions. So looking ahead, we are not delayed for Franz LC on the 19th, X-Death's event, Paladin Golbez on the 22nd, and hopefully a Squex community stream or at least update on what's going to be happening in May on the 27th. Expecting, at least at this point, by the end of the month, the final Awakening Wave 10, but we never will know until that happens. So hope everything goes well and we can have that stuff to keep us occupied. If not, then we just need to be patient and make sure everybody is safe and doing what they can. We thank all the people who are working on the game still. I'm glad that they can do so safely. Check out all of our links, our T-shirts and apparel, our website, tccpodcast.com. Join our Discord, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We're all on there. If you are on Twitter, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. If you're on Twitch, follow us and feel free to give us a sub if you can. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, we're on there as well. But join our Discord, connect with us that way. We do have the links to the Tonberry Troupe's YouTube or new website, which is www.tonberrytroupe. I'm writing this in the notes. .com. And Macnol's new website as well. And what was that again, Kriese?
What? Sorry?
Macnol's...
DecidiaInfo.com. It's at the top in the news section, too.
Okay, DecidiaInfo.com for the call to arms. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Everybody live on Twitch. We record every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Daylight Standard Time. We are on episode 98, so next week's 99. The week after is 100. We're going to be doing some giveaways on there. Thank you to Kriese, Mino, and Aarolei today. Aarolei, how can we connect with you and check out what you're doing?
You can check me out on YouTube. I'm Lilie, which is Leilee. And of course, I am in the Discord channel for the TCC podcast. And if you need to contact me there, you can just ping me.
We also want to thank the rest of our mod team: Inkwelder from the Tonberry Troupe, J.A, Jin Lee on YouTube, Macnell from Call to Arms, Quex of Materiabot, Shara, the Kingpin of Reddit, and Strafe on YouTube. Thank you, Dreamy, for the intro video, Jin Lee for the backgrounds, emotes, Hate13 for the intro narration, and thank you, of course, to our founder, Pierre, and check out that video. So, from the whole cast and everybody who's part of our community, thank you for joining us for episode 98. Until next time, good luck, good pulls, and we'll see you around.